Imagine you're in the midst of a storm, but this storm isn't outside. It's within you. Have you ever felt this way? Like your emotions were massive waves pulling you in all directions without you being able to control them? Today, I want to tell you Clara's story. She has a good job, a loving family, and friends who care about her. But inside, she's fighting a battle that no one sees. Clara seemed to have everything under control, but behind a perfect smile, she hid deep pain. Until one day, something happened. An event that turned her world upside down and left her completely lost. Have you ever experienced this? A moment that makes you question everything, even who you really are. But what Clara didn't know is that sometimes the answers we seek are in the most unexpected places. And that's how she found someone who would change her life forever. Let's embark on this journey together and discover how Clara managed to transform her life and control her emotions. Stay with me. This story is about overcoming, about finding strength when everything seems lost. And who knows, maybe you'll also find a new perspective to deal with your own emotions. Clara seemed to have a perfect life. At 35, she had a successful career, a loving family, and friends who adored her. But behind that smile, there was an invisible struggle. In the office, Clara was the star. Everyone admired her for her dedication and competence. She walked into the building with confidence, always ready to face any challenge. "Good morning, Clara. Ready for today's meeting?" "Always ready," she replied with a radiant smile. But as she prepared for the meeting, her heart raced irregularly, nerves corroding her peace. No one knew that inside. Clara struggled to maintain composure. At home, Clara was the family's rock. Her children saw her as a dedicated, loving mother, always ready to help. After everyone went to bed, Clara allowed herself to crumble. Sitting in the darkness of her room, tears streamed down her face. The weight of responsibilities and expectations suffocated her. Clara relived the criticisms from work, the looks of disappointment when she made a mistake, the feeling of never being good enough. She wondered how she could be so successful in the eyes of others, yet so fragile within herself. She remembered when her boss reprimanded her in front of everyone for a minor mistake. She felt her face burn with shame, her heart tighten. And when she tried to confide in friends, she always heard the same response. "Clara, you're so strong. You'll overcome this easily." Instead of comforting her, those words made her feel even more isolated. How could she show her vulnerability when everyone saw her as a pillar of strength? Her husband, always busy with work, didn't notice what was happening inside her. Clara longed for a hug, a word of comfort, but the silence of the night was her only companion. Behind that facade of a strong and successful woman, Clara was in a constant battle. She needed to find a way to control her emotions before it was too late. Clara's life continued in this fragile balance until one day, everything changed. It was a morning like any other. Clara was on her way to work, facing the usual traffic. Her phone rang, and she answered without thinking twice. "Clara, your project has been rejected by the board. We need you to redo everything by the end of the week." The boss's voice was firm and impersonal. Clara felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. It was the last straw. In the office, the atmosphere seemed even heavier. Disapproving looks and murmurs surrounded her. She felt judged, every step a torment. She entered the meeting room with her heart racing, trying to stay calm. She sat down and began discussing the changes she would make, but her voice trembled. Suddenly, it all became too much. The criticism, the pressure, the constant feeling of inadequacy. Clara stopped talking, looked at her colleagues, and unable to hold back, tears began to flow. "I'm sorry, I can't continue." She ran out of the room, surprised eyes following her. In the bathroom, locked in a stall, Clara cried uncontrollably. The reality was too harsh to bear. Everything seemed to be falling apart. When she arrived home, the scene repeated itself. Her children were playing in the living room. Her husband was in his office, but she couldn't connect with them. She felt like a stranger in her own life. "Clara, what happened?" her husband asked, noticing her state. "I don't know," she replied, her voice breaking. "I don't know how to go on like this anymore." That night, Clara realized that something needed to change. She couldn't continue living on the surface, ignoring the storm raging inside her. She needed help, but didn't know where to find it. The feeling of being on the edge of an abyss was overwhelming. And so, in that moment of desperation, Clara made a decision. She would seek an answer, a path to the peace she so desperately craved. In the following days, Clara's life turned into utter chaos. Every small task seemed insurmountable. At work, she was distracted, making mistakes she had never made before. The trust of her colleagues began to wane and gossip spread. At home, Clara was absent. Her children sensed the change but didn't know how to help. Her husband, worried, tried to talk to her, but Clara was closed off in her own world of pain. She isolated herself more and more, avoiding social interactions and sinking into negative thoughts. Nights were long and sleepless, filled with a mind that couldn't shut off. Every minor misstep became an overwhelming obstacle. In the office, a new mistake brought more problems. Clara forgot to send an important report, jeopardizing a crucial project. "Clara, this is unacceptable," the boss confronted her. "You need to pull yourself together or we'll have to take drastic measures." The boss's words were like a final blow. Sitting at her desk, Clara felt the weight of everything crushing her spirit. It was as if the world was collapsing around her, and she had no strength left to react. One late afternoon, Clara decided to leave work early. She got in her car and drove aimlessly, tears blurring her vision. She needed to escape, to break free from the suffocation, but she didn't know where to go. The streets seemed like a maze with no way out, reflecting her internal turmoil. She parked her car at a quiet park and got out, walking without a destination. She sat down on a bench and let the tears flow freely. Desperation ran deep, and Clara felt utterly lost. She was on the verge of a breakdown and knew she couldn't continue like this. It was in that moment, sitting alone in the park, that something unexpected happened. An elderly man with a serene appearance approached and sat beside her. He didn't say anything for a long time, just sat there in silence. Strangely, that silence was the first relief Clara had felt in a long time. Clara remained quiet, feeling the peaceful presence of the old man beside her. He seemed to radiate a calmness she yearned for. After a few minutes, he finally spoke, with a gentle voice full of wisdom. "Sometimes, the storm within us is the hardest to face." Clara looked at him, surprised by the accuracy of his words. It was as if he could see through her, understand all her pain. I don't know what to do. Everything feels so wrong," Clara whispered, her words heavy with despair. The old man smiled gently, his eyes shining with deep understanding. "Come with me. Let's take a walk." They strolled through the park, unhurried. Clara felt a lightness in the air, a pause from the constant pressure she had been feeling. The man began to speak again, sharing stories from his life, moments of challenge and overcoming. "There was a time when I felt lost too, like you do now. I thought there was no way out, that I was trapped in an endless cycle of pain and confusion. But I learned that sometimes the answer is in places we least expect." Clara listened attentively, feeling a growing connection with this wise stranger. He led her to a small temple hidden among the park's trees. The place exuded peace, a sanctuary from the chaos of the outside world. "This is where I come to find my own peace," he said, looking at the temple. "If you allow me, I can teach you some things that help me find my balance." Clara felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this man could help her find the path she had been searching for. I want to try," Clara replied, her voice a mix of fear and determination. The man nodded with a smile, guiding her inside the temple. There he began to teach her the basics of meditation, conscious breathing, and the art of being present in the moment. The key is to accept your emotions without fighting them. Just acknowledge them and allow yourself to feel them, without judgment. Clara followed his instructions, gradually feeling a calm settling within her. It was a challenging process, but in that moment, she realized she wasn't alone. There was a path ahead, a light at the end of the tunnel, and she was determined to follow it. Thus, Clara began her journey of self-discovery, guided by the peaceful wisdom of the old monk. It was the beginning of a transformation that would change her life forever. The next day, Clara returned to the temple, feeling anxious yet a bit nervous. The old monk welcomed her with a warm smile, as if he already knew she would come. "Welcome back, Clara. Let's continue from where we left off." He led her to a small Zen garden, where the gentle sound of running water and the birds chirping created an atmosphere of serenity. They sat in silence, and the monk began to guide her through a simple meditation. Focus on your breath. Feel the air entering and leaving. Let your thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. At first, Clara found it challenging. Her mind was restless, filled with worries and fears. But gradually she began to feel a lightness. It was as if, for a brief moment, the storm within her was calming down. After the meditation, the monk spoke about the importance of self-awareness and acceptance. "Clara, often our emotions are a reaction to something deeper within us. Fear, insecurity, past traumas. We need to learn to look inward and understand the root of these feelings." Clara reflected on his words. She remembered moments from her childhood, situations that had marked her and perhaps still affected her. She began to realize that her struggle wasn't just against present emotions, but against a past she had never truly faced. "I feel like I'm carrying a weight that I didn't even know existed," Clara said, her voice choked with emotion. "And are you willing to release that weight?" the monk asked, looking deeply into her eyes. "Yes, I am. I don't know how, but I want to try." The monk then suggested that Clara start writing about her feelings, a form of therapeutic writing. He believed that by putting her emotions on paper, she could begin to process and better understand what was inside her. Write without censorship, without fear. Let your emotions flow freely. This is the first step towards healing. In the days that followed, Clara dedicated herself to this new practice. At first, it was difficult. The words came out hesitantly, laden with pain. But as she continued, she began to feel a lightness. It was as if with each page she wrote, she was releasing some of the burden she carried. The old monk continued to guide her, offering wisdom and techniques to help her cope with her emotions. Clara felt grateful for his serene presence in her life. She was beginning to see a light at the end of the tunnel, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a genuine hope that she could find inner peace. Clara continued her journey of self-discovery with dedication. Each day at the temple was a new step towards understanding her emotions. The old monk patiently guided her, teaching her the art of being present and the importance of accepting her emotions without judgment. On a peaceful morning while practicing meditation in the Zen garden, the monk posed a profound question. "Clara, how do you feel when you think about your past?" Clara took a deep breath, feeling a wave of emotions stir within her. "I feel fear and sadness. Many things I've tried to forget, but they still haunt me." "Then today, let's face these feelings together," the monk said gently. They began a guided meditation session, focusing on Clara's memories from the past. She initially felt resistance, but gradually, she allowed herself to follow the monk's instructions. Memories surfaced, moments of rejection, loss, pain. Clara cried, but this time, she didn't feel alone. Let the tears flow, Clara. They are the manifestation of your healing, the monk reassured her in a calming voice. After the meditation, Clara felt exhausted but also relieved. For the first time, she confronted her past pains without running away. She felt a tremendous weight lift off her shoulders. That afternoon, the monk gave her a new challenge: to practice conscious breathing whenever she felt a strong emotion. The idea was simple, yet powerful: to focus on her breath to anchor herself in the present, instead of being swept away by the storm of emotions. Days turned into weeks, and Clara began to notice significant changes. The techniques she had learned helped her stay calm in situations that used to make her anxious. At work, she could better handle pressure and criticism. At home, she was more present and patient with her family. One day, when she met the monk, Clara shared a transformative experience. Yesterday, my boss gave harsh criticism of my work. Normally, I would have fallen apart. But instead, I took a deep breath and was able to listen without being shaken. It was as if, for the first time, I was in control. The monk smiled with pride. You are learning to master your emotions, Clara. That is the power of self-awareness. Clara continued to write in her journal, a habit that had become a source of relief and introspection. Each page she wrote was another step towards understanding and accepting herself. Clara realized that the peace she sought wasn't in avoiding her emotions, but in embracing them. She began to see her emotions not as enemies, but as essential parts of who she was. Over time, Clara began to incorporate the practices she had learned from the monk into her daily routine. Each morning started with a meditation session, a sacred moment she used to connect with herself and prepare for the day. At work, Clara's changes didn't go unnoticed. Her calmness and clarity began to influence the environment around her. In an important meeting, her boss brought up a critique again, but this time Clara was prepared. Clara, we need to talk about the last delivery. There were some issues. She took a deep breath, focusing on her breathing as the monk had taught her. I understand and I appreciate the feedback. I will review and address the points mentioned. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Clara's serene response surprised everyone in the room. The boss, expecting a defensive reaction, was visibly impressed. Clara felt a sense of internal pride. She was applying the lessons of emotional control in practice. At home, Clara adopted therapeutic writing as a nightly ritual. Every evening before bed, she wrote about her experiences and emotions from the day. The pages of her journal became a sanctuary, a place where she could be completely honest with herself. Today I felt fear at work, but I managed to control it. I feel stronger every day. Over time, these practices began to profoundly transform her life. She developed greater self-awareness and started identifying emotional triggers before they overwhelmed her. When she felt anxiety starting to build up, she used mindful breathing to center herself. One day, Clara encountered the monk in the Zen garden. I have something to show you, she said, handing him her diary. The monk flipped through the pages, reading excerpts here and there. He smiled approvingly. You're doing wonderful work, Clara. Writing is a powerful form of transformation. I'm proud of you. Clara felt a wave of gratitude. She knew she still had much to learn, but she no longer felt at the mercy of her emotions. She felt better equipped to face life's challenges. One night, while writing in her diary, Clara had a revelation. She realized that no matter how difficult her emotions were, they were part of her journey of self-discovery. Every challenge, every moment of pain, was an opportunity for growth. Today, I feel more connected to myself than ever before. I understand that my emotions are not my enemies, but my teachers. Clara began sharing some of her experiences with close friends and family. She talked about the techniques she had learned and how they helped her find balance. Inspired by her own transformation, Clara began helping others find their own ways to deal with difficult emotions. If I could change, anyone can, Clara thought with a smile. Clara continued to grow and evolve, applying the techniques and lessons she learned from the old monk daily. Her life changed in ways she never imagined. People around her noticed the difference and started seeking Clara out for advice and support. One afternoon, while walking through the park where it all began, Clara encountered a young woman sitting on the same bench where she had met the monk. The woman looked visibly distressed, tears streaming down her face. Clara approached and sat beside her, just as the monk had done for her. "Sometimes the storm within us is the hardest to face," Clara said, echoing the words that had comforted her so much. The young woman looked at her, surprised and relieved not to be alone. Clara began sharing her own story, talking about her struggles and the wisdom she had found with the monk. The young woman listened attentively, feeling understood and encouraged. "If you ever need someone to talk to or guidance, I'm here to help," Clara offered, smiling kindly. As time passed, Clara continued to assist others in finding their way. She organized small meditation groups in the park and started a blog where she wrote about her experiences and emotional control techniques. Her words reached many people, inspiring them to seek inner peace. One day, Clara returned to the temple to visit the monk. He greeted her with a serene smile, delighted to see her transformation. "You've done amazing work, Clara. I'm very proud of you," he said. "I could never have done this without your guidance." "I'm eternally grateful," Clara replied. "The journey is yours, Clara. I simply showed the way. The merit is all yours." Clara reflected on her words, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. She understood that while she had received help, the true change came from within herself. Her determination and courage had led her to overcome her emotions and find lasting balance. That night, as she wrote in her diary, Clara felt a profound peace. The pages were now filled with words of overcoming, hope, and inspiration. She knew her journey was just beginning, and she was ready to face any challenge that came her way. Today, I feel at peace with myself. I know my emotions are a part of me, and I am in harmony with them. The journey continues, but now I know I am strong enough to weather any storm. Clara closed the diary and looked out the window, feeling a deep connection to the world around her. Her story of overcoming was a beacon of hope for everyone who knew her, showing that it is possible to find inner peace no matter how challenging the circumstances. And so, Clara continued to inspire and help others, living a life of balance and purpose, guided by the wisdom she found within herself. Clara's story teaches us a powerful lesson. We all face internal battles, regardless of how our lives may appear on the outside. In our daily lives, we may feel overwhelmed, anxious, and trapped in a cycle of negative emotions. However, as Clara discovered, it is possible to find peace and balance even in the most challenging circumstances. Firstly, it's essential to recognize and accept our emotions. Denying or suppressing what we feel only increases internal pressure. Allow yourself to feel without judgment. This is a fundamental part of the healing and self-discovery process. Practice mindful breathing. In moments of stress, deep and slow breathing can anchor you in the present and calm your mind. Try it now. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds, and slowly exhale through your mouth. Feel the calm washing over you. Meditation is a powerful tool for those seeking to understand and control their emotions. Even a few minutes a day can make a significant difference. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. Let thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. Writing about your emotions can also be extremely therapeutic. Put on paper what you feel without censorship. This practice helps process and better understand your emotions, easing the burden you carry. Remember that seeking help is not a sign of weakness, but of courage. Talking to a trusted person, or seeking guidance, as Clara did with the monk, can open new paths and offer valuable perspectives. Finally, understand that transformation is a continuous process. There will be ups and downs, moments of doubt and challenges. But every step you take towards self-awareness and acceptance of your emotions is a victory. Remember, just as Clara found strength within herself to transform her life, so can you. Every small step counts, and the pursuit of inner peace is one of the most valuable journeys you can undertake. You are stronger than you imagine, and the key to that strength lies within you. If you enjoyed the story and it resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next videos. So, until the next video.